With the release of Destiny 2's newest expansion over a month ago now, a lot of new and returning players are picking up the game. While I think Destiny does a solid job of explaining the basics of gameplay and subclass usage in their tutorial, they don't really talk a lot about the more important stuff that can be much harder to understand if you're going in blind. So I thought I would make a bit of a guide on the harder stuff to understand. Obviously, this video will not be covering the basics of the game, which means how abilities work, what weapons do, yada yada yada. Instead, I want to go over the basics of build crafting and powering up your gear, because I believe this is the most confusing part of the game for new lights. First and most importantly, you want to get your power up to a high level before focusing on getting good armor. Your power level is the big yellow number in the top right corner of your screen when you're in your inventory. I should also add that when you look at the power level, you will see a gear level and a bonus level. When you get newer, higher leveled gear, its power is based off of your gear level, not the bonus. As I'm sure you guys were made decently aware of in the tutorial, as you play through the game, you can find new weapons and armor from completing activities or from collecting floor engrams. Each new piece you get will be a higher level than the last, up to a certain point. For this newest expansion, everyone started at power level 1900. Between 1900 and 1940 power, all gear that you get will be a higher power. Once you reach 1940 power, you reach what is called the soft cap. This means that from 1940 to 1990 power, the only drops that will give you power boosts are pinnacle drops and powerful drops. At this point, you're probably wondering, what are those and where can you get them? Well, when you are viewing your destinations map, you will see these shimmering little yellow signs below certain locations. Those indicate that there's a certain activity or challenge that can be done to reward powerful or pinnacle drops. Let me show you some examples. As you can see, most of the locations on this map have the little yellow symbol under them. The main three playlists at the top, those being Crucible, Gambit, or Vanguard, are the most noticeable. You can complete matches in these playlists to earn powerful gear, I believe 3 powerful drops a week per character. Vanguard also has a specific mode called Onslaught. After beating 50 waves of it, it will grant you more powerful gear. Also, certain vendors on the map will appear as a light blue instead of the usual green. This means they have a challenge you can complete for powerful gear, such as Failsafe at the helm, or these two in the Pale Heart. Finally, the newest and one of the easiest ways to get powerful gear is through the Pathfinder system. It acts as the new bounty system for the main 3 playlists and for the Pale Heart. It's a great way to get powerful rewards and XP for the seasonal pass. You'll also notice that some of these drops say they have a specific tier, like the Onslaught one gives tier 1 powerful loot. What that means is that the gear you will get will be 3 levels higher than your gear light level. I'll put the rest of them on screen now. Once you have grinded to 1990 power, the only way to gain more power, up to 2000, is from pinnacle drops, which at this point will only give you 1 power level at a time. These can only be gotten from very specific challenges, such as in this season, you can get it from a few challenges at the helm involving Enigma Protocol and Breach Executable, from Iron Banner when it's around, from the newest raid Salvation's Edge, the newest dungeon Warlord's Ruin, and whatever dungeon, raid, and exotic mission are in rotation this week. At the time of this recording, it was Shattered Throne in the Dreaming City, Vow of the Disciple in Savathun's Throne World, and Presage in the Legends tab. Now that I'm finished yapping about power leveling, it's time to move on to the second topic, which is entirely about build crafting. The most important part of starting a build is making sure you have good armor with high stats. I'm not 100% confident in these values, but these are what I could find. The highest total stat count a legendary piece of armor can have is 68 without a masterwork. Exotic armor, on the other hand, should be able to get up to 70 or 71 stats. But before we really dive into that, let me go back to masterworking. As you are probably familiar with, you can level up weapons and armor. Doing so requires Glimmer, Enhancement Cores, Enhancement Prisms, and Ascendant Shards. Legendary armor costs much less to upgrade than exotic armor does. Again, you may be asking, what are these materials and how do I get them? So, Glimmer you can get literally anywhere. That includes public events, patrols, activities, bounties, scrapping weapons and armor, buying it from Xur with strange coins, or going to Rahul. Enhancement cores are basically the same deal. They have a chance to drop at the end of most activities, and you can increase your chances using ghost mods like Core Harvest and Prism Harvest. Enhancement cores are also guaranteed drops from Banshee 44's daily bounties. Next are enhancement prisms. These are much more rare, but they are used less, only for higher level armor upgrades. These can be found in Nightfalls, as rank up rewards and vendors, and I believe they can appear in Expert Lost sectors. Finally, we have Ascendant Shards. You can get these by fully maxing out a vendor once per season, Each vendor has 1 Ascendant Shard at the end of their rank rewards, and from Grandmaster Nightfalls. While Grandmaster Nightfalls can be very difficult, they are by far the best way to farm for all of these materials. You can also get some of these materials from Flawless Trials of Osiris, but that's even harder than a GM if you ask me. Anyways, back to the armor. When you click on a piece of legendary or exotic armor, you will see 4 open slots and an energy level at the top. The higher the energy level of your armor, the more mods you can use. Using the materials I mentioned previously, you can level up your armor to a max of level 10. At level 10, you masterwork it using Ascendant Shards. Once a piece of armor reaches level 10, you gain +2 to every stat on that armor piece, essentially boosting its total stat roll by +12. Each piece of armor has different mods that are unique to them, but they all share the first slot, which is for general armor mods. These are the mods that increase your armor's stats. Minor mods give +5 to a specific stat for less energy, and normal mods give +10 for more. Discipline, strength, and mobility mods cost 1 and 3 energy, while intellect, recovery, and resilience cost 2 and 4 energy. If you want armor with high stat rolls, they tend to appear in raids, dungeons, and the seasonal vendor. You can manipulate the rolls a little bit by putting an armorer mod on your ghost. This makes it so that any armor you get, it will have higher stats in that specifically selected stat. This is especially useful when you're getting armor from the vendors. If you have the seasonal pass, you'll gain access to the story missions for this act and the ability to focus armor at the vendor in the helm. It'll even say, as you're focusing, what stat is going to be improved by your armorer mod, as you will see in a second. I'm not really going to dive into subclass customization because there's a lot to cover, but it isn't anything too crazy. What I will say is some fragments in your subclass will give you extra stats or take away stats, so that is something to keep track of when making a build. And that when you are mixing fragments together, try to match ones together that share important words and that could build off of each other, like Scorch in Solar, or something as simple as melee or grenade being mentioned in its description. Now we are getting into the weeds with unique armor mods. Helmets specifically have mods for finding heavy bricks and special bricks. They also have Special Ammo Scout and Heavy Ammo Scout to pair with these to create bricks for your teammates. They also have a few mods to regenerate super energy, like Dynamo, Ashes to Assets, Hands-On, and Power Reservation. There's also some armor charge mods, but we're not going to go over those right now. That will be later. They have mods to create Orbs of Power with Weapon Final Blows, and for all my PvP guys out there, they've got targeting mods to improve target acquisition. Next up, we have arms. They have mods that involve grenades and melees making orbs on kills, like Firepower and Heavy-Handed. They have mods for refunding energy on hits, like Momentum Transfer and Impact Induction. They also have armor charge mods, like Grenade Kickstart and Melee Kickstart, which we'll get into later. And for my PvP guys out there, they have loader mods, which will increase reload speed for your weapons, and dexterity mods, which will increase your ready and stow speed. Chestplates mostly have mods to decrease the amount of damage you get from certain damage sources, like solar resistance, which will reduce incoming solar damage from combatants. They also have mods to increase the reserves of certain special and heavy weapons, like arc reserves, for example, which will increase the amount of ammo that your arc weapons can carry. For my PvP guys, they've got Unflinching, which will reduce the flinch you take when firing a specific weapon. Again, they have some armor charge mods that I will go over later. Legs are mostly used for allowing the collection of Orbs of Power to refund abilities. Like we'll have Innervation, Invigoration, Insulation, or Absolution, which will all reduce some ability cooldowns when you pick up an orb. This is also where Surge mods are located, which are very, very important, but I will cover these when I get to armor charges. They also have mods to gradually reload your weapons when they are stowed or you're not currently using them, or Scavenger mods, which will give extra reserves when picking up a brick that matches the damage type of the weapon that the mod matches. Finally, we are onto the class items. This is where the bulk of the armor charge mods are. Most of them involve the use of finishers, like Special Ammo Finisher, which will create a special ammo brick for the whole fire team after getting a finisher with 3 stacks of armor charge, which I will talk about later. They also have mods that will reduce your cooldowns after using a class ability, like Bomber, Outreach, and Distribution. And then it also has the Reaper mod, which will create an Orb of Power shortly after you use your class ability, assuming you get a Weapon Final Blow. Now it's time to cover armor charge. This is the system that was introduced in Lightfall that most builds are built around. You gain armor charge after picking up an orb, and there are 3 different types of armor charge mods. Yellow armor charge mods, blue armor charge mods, and green armor charge mods. Yellow armor charge mods are the ones that you will probably be using the most. These ones refund energy or give an instant bonus upon being used, such as the finisher mods or the kickstart mods. For the kickstart mods, you use all of your armor charge after using the selected ability, and you get more energy refunded for that ability based on the number of armor charges and the amount of kickstart mods you have equipped. Finisher mods are kind of the same thing, but you have to be at or above a specific number of armor charges for it to work. Blue armor charge mods give time-sensitive bonuses that slowly deplete your armor charge over time, such as surges or font mods. Surges will give a stacking damage buff to weapons of the same damage type that the mod mentions. The more mods you have, the bigger the buff gets. 3 mods, giving you a 22% weapon buff, which is the max. Font mods give a temporary boost to different stats. For example, Font of Vigor gives strength a bump up to 100 for however long it lasts. Finally, green armor charge mods. These affect how they are gotten, how many you can have, and how long they last. Stacks on the legs make it so that you can have 1 extra armor charge stack per orb pickup. Charged up on the chest plate allows you to hold an extra armor charge per mod equipped, starting from the base armor charge value of 3. Time dilation on the legs increases how long it takes an armor charge to decay while using a blue mod. I could sit here all day talking about every mod, but that would be a waste of everyone's time. So instead, I went over the most important ones. I really hope this video made sense to those out there watching it, and I hope you all have fun trying out different builds and experimenting with different setups.